and here we are for the Sonic the Hedgehog category of this Q&A. Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. Especially considering the fact with my unpopular opinions on certain things related to Sonic, and my current attitude with the series as of now. So, don't be surprised if I'm constantly jumping back and forth from sounding casual to sounding like a bitter and cynical old man. Matthew Zitchell, out of the Sonic games released from Sonic Colors onwards, which one is the best, or at least the most playable? And I'd mostly say Sonic Generations is the best out of the bunch. Despite the non-existing plot and the rushed gameplay, it still feels nice enough to play. Well, for the most part. Also, unlike Colors and everything after that, Generations is the one that I feel was the last bit of honesty from Sega when it came to marketing and advertising. It's an anniversary game, big collab event with past elements, and that's exactly what we got. Well, in the console versions. I heard that in the 3DS version they were originally going to feature levels from Sonic's handheld games, like Triple Trouble, Sonic Rush, and all that, but all we got was just Water Palace, and every other level after that was just ripped straight from the console games. Nathan Foga, thoughts on the Sonic Boom series? Man, talk about false advertising. It's like a reintroduction that doesn't know how to properly reintroduce itself. I will say that the concept was pretty cool when they first showed it off in that teaser trailer. Originally a return to a more action and adventure Sonic, which I was deeply missing because of how boring Colors and Lost Worlds left me. And unlike everyone on the internet, I didn't go batshit insane over the minor redesigns. I only had a concern for Knuckles, because I feared that with that big design for the muscles, I feared it was going to be the big on muscle and small on brain power stereotype. And then when we got more and more info on the rise of Lyric and more dialogue showed up, it was nothing what I had hoped for, and it just felt like I was being lied to from how the teaser trailer was back then. Dialogue was sounding much worse than Colors, which surprisingly was enough for me to have zero interest in the game. And I've heard that it's a glitchy mess like Sonic 06, so never bothered playing it, and I never will, so yeah, it's one of those games. You can just easily go on the internet and just watch the many 10-hour-long reviews for that game, rather than trying to play for it for yourself. As for the other things related to Sonic Boom, well, I never bothered with the handheld games. And for the Sonic Boom comics, I only read a small amount of them that were mostly related to the Worlds Unite crossover. But since there's only 11 issues and there's technically only 8 that actually focus on the Sonic Boom universe, I've only read the first issue, and that's the only one I've read. And as I mentioned before, I tried to give the TV show a chance, and yeah, it's still rubbish. Next question. Favorite Archie Sonic character? Man, so many to choose from. Well, from the old continuity, I like the Arctic Freedom Fighters. They're very interesting and unique, especially when they were reintroduced with updated designs and giving Irma some actual personality, rather than just leaving her as a mute from way back then. And next is Laura Lee, aka Knuckles' mom, also because I just have a thing for liking those motherly characters, and I feel like Laura is one of them. Spectre, love the design for that echidna. Always imagined him sounding like Goliath from Gargoyles. Fiona Fox. Funny thing about her was that during issue 146, when she was a good guy, I liked her, and then I was angered when she became an evil later on. But then after I read through the comics in chronological order, I looked back and I was like, man, Fiona was a very forgettable character when she was a good guy. Even when she was a part of the Freedom Fighters, she really didn't do anything to help. So now I think she's better off as being a villain. There's a lot more fun with her interactions with Scourge and all the other characters. As for the new continuity, I like Relic. She's like this very nerdy and super adorable character to rival Knuckles' calm and loner-like personality. Then there's Ben the Mutt, the cute puppy who is an assistant to Uncle Chuck, which would have been nice to see more of him. Nice way of reintroducing a Sad AM Sonic character that we rarely see show up in the comics. And there's Opal, because of obvious reasons. Thunderbolt, that was a great character. Love seeing a villain who is all mean and ruthless, but whenever Robotnik shows up, she acts as a total fangirl. That was great. Luke Langer, surprisingly Luke the Fox didn't ask a question. Are there any characters from the Archie Sonic comics that you don't like? Yes, I do have a small list of Archie Sonic characters that I really don't like. Like Sleuth Doggy Dog, yeah, probably one of the most forgettable characters because, well, he's just there and doesn't really do much. Ash Mongoose, Mina's manager and boyfriend. I found the guy to be very dull and boring. Jeffrey St. John, that's kind of an obvious one since almost every Archie Sonic fan hates this guy. He's pretty much a big jerk, constantly picking on Sonic, then the whole betrayal happens when he joins Nagas, and yeah, lots of reasons to hate this guy. As for the new continuity, can't really think of any characters that I don't like. Some of them I don't care for, but not enough for me to hate. Jeremy Crane, what are you most sick and tired of for Sonic? Oh, that's easy. All this nostalgia pandering stuff Sega's been shoving down our throats and the over-reliance of 2D for modern Sonic games. Yeah, that's coming from stuff that's been heavily advertised itself as 3D Sonic games, and it really isn't. That's the one thing I am most sick and tired of these days. I mean, if you want it to be a classic Sonic game, that's fine, but when you keep shoving him into most modern Sonic games, that gets really annoying. And I already stressed my opinion on the whole 3D and 2D thing for Sonic. Ultra Reject, how do you feel towards the upcoming Sonic movie? Gonna be saving that for Gimme Chaos Theories, where Luke and I will express our opinions on what we know about the film so far. Hopefully, before it becomes horribly outdated. Next question. Do you think Sega will do a Sonic Adventure remake? Pfft, yeah, like that'll ever happen. The games these days have become nothing but false advertising, nostalgia-pandered bullshit, with a bunch of dank memes sprinkled on it. The adventure days for Sonic are long gone, and they're never coming back. If they say that they will do a remake, then it'll most likely just be another case of false advertising, where they'll be like, we're gonna do Sonic Adventure Remaster on the Nintendo Switch, now with updated graphics, better controls, better voice acting, DLC, yada yada yada. And then when the game actually does come out, it turns out that it's just a Switch port of the original Dreamcast version, with none of the updates that they promised. Stupid Star Sonic, sexiest character, I mean favorite character. Well, the sexiest character I know is Opal the Jellyfish. Yeah, she's quite the hottie, especially with her great, big, squishy hair. Next question. Older or newer games? Well, definitely I'm more in the modern Sonic games, although I only prefer the adventure games up to Unleashed and Black Knight. Anything from Sonic Colors and onwards just bores me, despite Generations being mostly playable to an extent. Although I do like some of the classic Sonic games, so I'm not that super modern Sonic purist. But even with that, people still accuse me of being a modern Sonic purist. Oh well. That's the fanbase for you. Tyler Simp. When Archie Sonic comics got rebooted, there was a bit of controversy on the Freedom Fighters getting redesigned. If you had been in charge of redesigning them, how would you have gone about with them? Honestly, I'd probably just keep the designs as they are in the new continuity. I really don't see the whole drama and hate behind it with the whole minor redesigns. To me, it just comes off as the whole, oh, Sonic has green eyes crap all over again. I mean, they still look and act the same as they did before. It's not like they decided to redesign Bunny Rabbit into a giraffe, has a Russian accent, and now has a bum leg and a cane rather than robotic limbs. Alien Guy 38. Would you rather have Sega announce Sonic Mania 2 or a remake of Sonic 3 and Knuckles? Neither. I'd rather have them just be more honest with their marketing and advertising for once. I mean, the way they handled Sonic Forces was a mess. Like, there's that one video where Aaron Webber is being interviewed about the game, and he's trying to answer the whole, what were the best parts of 3D Sonic games? And while that's going on, a good chunk of that gameplay in the background is modern Sonic in 2D gameplay. I mean, if you're trying to sell me the idea that it's a new 3D Sonic game, then sell it to me like an actual goddamn 3D Sonic game. Yeah, you could say I'm more of a show me the money kind of guy. PowerPub97, which Sonic game do you think had the best music? Too many to choose from. I guess Heroes and the adventure games and some of the old Genesis games, like mostly 2 and 3. Heck, the final boss music to Sonic 3 is one of my top favorite final boss themes in Sonic games. I'm also starting to like the music in the Sega Saturn version of Sonic 3D Blast, which I'm finding that version of the soundtrack to be very criminally underrated. Next question. If there was an episode of Sonic X where Tails and Amy performed a totem pole trench, what do you think it would go? It took me a while to figure out what you meant by totem pole trench, so later I figured out, oh yes, that old gag where 2 or 3 people stand on top of each other, hiding most of their bodies in an extremely long trench coat. And usually the guy acting as the head wears like this big goofy mustache to try and look like an adult. Well, if there was an episode like that in Sonic X, it would probably be like, it would be an episode focusing on Amy and Tails, and they find a Chaos Emerald hiding in some fancy building, but they can't get into it because of a no animals allowed policy. So they do the whole trench coat thing, they get inside, and then hilarity ensues. Man, that's all I can think of for that. Next one. What are your thoughts on Knuckles' design in Sonic Boom? Well, I don't mind the design. I just wish the personality was different. Oh, Bunny Boy, have you heard of that meme that was spread in VR chat called the Uganda Knuckles? And thoughts on the meme? Ugh, frickin' Uganda Knuckles. As if Sonic wasn't bad enough already. In fact, that meme alone is what scared me away from having any interest in trying out VR chat, cause, like, you know that bum who shows up in a game server and he just spams and ear rapes you with his microphone? Well, Uganda Knuckles is like that, but with a whole bunch of people doing it instead of one person most of the time. I also find it funny how people are saying that, oh, Uganda Knuckles meme is dead now. And I'm just like, silly internet, Sonic memes never die. Just go over to the Sonic Twitter account. They're practically a freaking meme generator over there. So yeah, Uganda Knuckles. I don't like it. Birds of Destiny. If there's a good fanfiction of Sonic, what would it be? I don't know. I rarely read Sonic fanfiction. Next question. What are your thoughts on the Sonic Boom TV show? I guess now I should go more into detail as to why I still consider the TV show to be rubbish. Okay, so as I mentioned before, the franchise was advertised as an action-adventure series, but it turns out that for the TV show, there's no adventure and there's barely any action. Like, one of the biggest complaints I have with the show, aside from the writing, the stiff animation, and everything else, is the lack of consistency. Like, I know most shows don't rely heavily on continuity, but at least they still maintain some essence of consistency with its characters and its world and whatnot. And Sonic Boom has no flipping consistency whatsoever. Like, I swear, Amy Rose has like a completely different personality in each episode. Well, then again, I've only seen a small handful of episodes, like the first episode, which was a very bad way to start off with. Like, it's mostly about Sonic trying to get rid of Tails and finding a new sidekick. Yeah, the show just started, we barely get any time to fully establish who these characters are, and the show immediately expects the audience to know automatically who all of these characters are and how they're different compared to all the other versions of Sonic. And the plot itself should have been saved for later on in the series. I mean, episode 16 of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog did it right with the episode where Sonic's finding a new home for Tails, because by then we already are familiar with all of these characters. I mean, I wouldn't have an issue with this if it was an expanded universe like the IDW Sonic comics, but no, this is supposed to be a brand new universe, and it needs to properly reintroduce these characters and its world, which clearly it doesn't. And then the second episode, which was very blah, and Styx makes her first appearance, and yeah, just like the first episode, we have to automatically know who she is and why she's crazy because the show sure as hell doesn't bother explaining that to us. In fact, that scene where Robotnik is monologuing while Sonic and Tails are sleep-deprived and the other characters are just standing there, I was this close to grabbing my computer monitor, shaking it violently, and just yelling out, "Do something!" Other than a few other episodes, that was basically it. I never bothered watching Season 2, and the clips that I've seen didn't help either. Oh, in this episode, there's a super hypersonic fan, and he's like a parody of Christian. Oh yeah, great. Like I haven't seen that done a million fucking times before. Oh, but in this episode, Vector's in it. Wow. Aside from Metal Sonic and Shadow, this is the only other Sega Sonic character that can get into the show. Yeah, too little too late for me. Oh, but it gets better because there's this episode where Knuckles says feminist, and that's the best episode ever because because Knuckles said feminist. Oh, really? And I thought the show was about Sonic the Hedgehog, not frickin' Family Guy. Sheesh, if that's what Season 2 is all about, then I wouldn't be surprised if there was an episode that focused on Sonic-fied versions of Adolf Hitler and Osama bin Laden having a game of tennis for 10 flippin' hours while Robotnik is playing chess with Saddam Hussein, then Styx is trying to flirt with Kim Jong-un while Knuckles drools all over Vlad the Impaler, and then Attila the Hun shows up out of nowhere at the end trying to murder everyone while riding a bumper car. And they'll say that's the best episode ever in the Sonic Boom series because they want the entire Season 3 to be just like that. Sonic and his friends dealing with government and politics and all this other stuff because fuck trying to put in the effort in making these characters more enjoyable and the jokes actually more funny. Politics are what the fans and the kiddies are into these days. Oh, please, gag me with a hot iron rod. Wow, that was quite the outburst there. I apologize. And if anyone asks, yes, I know that not all of Sonic Boom fans act like the bastardized version that I described it. You know, like classic Sonic fans, because despite all of my dark sense of humor I do poking fun at them, I do know there are a good amount of them that don't act like insane purists. Because for the actual Sonic Boom fans, there are ones that are mature, and they just like the show for what it is. Wacky stuff and goofiness, so hooray! Good for them! But since this is coming from someone who knew about the franchise from the marketing and advertising, only to find out that I was being flat out lied to, yeah, I'm still pretty bitter about that. So, clearly, I'm not a fan of this show. Catholic controversy. Do you know Dewey? Yes, I know who Dewey is. He's one of Donald Duck's nephews, mostly remembered in DuckTales, both the old and the rebooted one. It's pretty nice that they're making an attempt to make the nephew sound and act different in the reboot, because in the original, those three pretty much sounded and acted like the exact same person. Although I don't know why I bother putting this question into the Sonic category when it has nothing to do with Sonic. Oh, you mean do you know the way? The way to what? The pharmacy store? The bank? Nearest bathroom? You need to be a little more specific about that question, boyo. Yeah, I know what you're referencing. I just felt like messing with you. Valkyrie Sprites 420 GTX. Oh, that's a weird name. Have you played Sonic 06 and finished it 5 times? I have. No, I haven't. Next question. What is the best way to trigger Sonic fans besides saying Sonic Adventure 2 is bad? Oh, that's easy. Tell them that you either don't like Sonic Colors or you don't like Sonic Mania, and I guarantee they'll have your head on a platter in no time. And next question. Will you ever cover any Sonic Lost media outside of Forgotten Media? Well, I already mentioned that I won't do beta collection again, so no. Thane, what was the furthest you read of the Archie Sonic comics? The furthest I read was issue 290 of the main series and issue 94 for Sonic Universe. So yeah, basically I read through every single issue of Archie Sonic, even though I originally didn't start off in chronological order. Next question. Favorite and least favorite issues or arcs of the Sonic comics? There's quite a lot of these stories. Well, I guess for the least favorite ones I can think of is issue 134, even though that's an obvious one, because it's pretty much has been deemed by Archie Sonic fans as the worst Archie Sonic issue. Basically, it's that issue where Sonic and Sally do their big breakup. Now, I'm not against the idea, but the way it was written out, it was just very poor, and it makes Sally just come off as a selfish bum. Also, wasn't a fan of John Gray's early artwork back then. I'm actually okay with seeing that weird anime art style for the off-panel segments, but when it comes to the main stories, it's hard for me to take these characters seriously with their over-the-top facial expressions. Although during his final days working on Archie Sonic, his artwork did get a lot better, so there's a plus. As for a favorite one, hard to say, so many of them that I liked. I guess one that I can think of was issue 205 from the Iron Queen saga, and that's the one where the mentally insane Robotnik breaks out of his cell and goes on a rampage. That was amusing, especially when it starts spouting out, making a few references to some Sonic memes. That, I feel like, is the more proper way of handling that, unlike in the games where they'll just throw a certain character in like Vector just so they can have him say, "Find the computer room," and everyone's like, "Oh, he said it too." Give me a break. The Scully 343. Hate having to bombard you with a Sonic question, given how Forces panned out, leaving you with a bitter taste in your mouth. However, it stands with a Sonic future being relatively unknown at this stage in terms of direction of the series. What do you think is the idea for modern/legacy Sonic being shelved, since Mania has seemed to skyrocket in success while Forces, though not entirely terrible, didn't do anywhere near as well as Sega had hoped? Or to be a little more specific, do you think it would be a more merciful fate for what little dignity modern legacy Sonic had left to be left on the shelves if they're going to continue on with it? Jeez, that's a mouthful of a question. Okay, so basically he's asking me if Sega will decide to kill off anything related to modern Sonic after the success of Sonic Mania. And Luke and I had briefly talked about this on the Too Much Classic Sonic episode for Giving Chaos Theories. And my casual side would say no, because there's a huge group of modern Sonic fans, and I don't think Sega would have the balls to just kill him off. Unless they're drunk. But my bitter and cynical side says that he's already dead after what happened in Forces. But that's just me and my limit with Sonic games. Raymond Wilson, if you could put 2 characters from the comics, Archie, Fleetway, etc., into the games, who would you put and why? Well, for Archie Sonic, it would probably be Dr. Finevus. I love that guy. I think he was one of the great villains in Archie Sonic. Other one would probably be Shard the Metal Sonic. It would be cool if there was a game where he was playable and all that. For Fleetway Sonic, well, I can mostly think of the good guys, so it would probably be Ebony, like the design of her, and how she has these magical powers. And the other one being Short Fuse the Cybernetic, that squirrel guy who was shoved in a robot suit and then rebelled against Robotnik. Kind of similar to Bunny Rabbit when you think about it. As for IDW Sonic, that's hard to say since we haven't had a lot of screen time with these new characters we've had so far. I guess Tangle's kind of an obvious one, but I like the design and her spunky personality. And for the other one, I was originally going to say Landolin the sheep, but now I would most likely say Whisper the wolf. I've really taken a liking to this shy, low ranger character who barely has anything to say because she literally whispers her words one word at a time. Next question. Since there is a live-action Sonic movie coming up, what would be one thing you would put in to make the movie more enjoyable for you? Well, talk about a question getting an answer where I'm just blindly shooting in the dark because of how little info we have about the film so far. I guess one thing I would add is just a tribute to Archie Sonic comics. Yeah, that's kind of a cheap one, but that's all I could think of. Next question. Who do you think would win, Archie Supersonic or Fleetway Supersonic? Probably Fleetway Supersonic, because unlike most versions of Supersonic, this one is much more of a deranged psychopath and acts as a bigger threat than any other Sonic universe. Rainbow Optimus, favorite Sonic game of all time? That's kind of a mix. Sometimes I'd say Sonic Adventure 2, other times I'd say Sonic Unleashed. I don't know, that's kind of a tie for me. Next one, least favorite Sonic games of all time. Anything written by Podtech and Graph. And Sonic Spinball. And next question. If you could kill off one Sonic character from any continuity, who would it be and why? That's an interesting question. Can't really think of much for the games. Sega's already killed off a lot of their characters and villains like Infinite, Call, and all the others. For me, I'd probably get rid of Big the Cat, because it's apparent that instead of improving the character or actually using him for something useful, they just bring him into those games just for the memes and nothing else. And that is just a waste of a character. If I was in a more bitter and cynical mood, I'd kill off Classic Sonic, which would also lead to people trying to kill me as well, haha. As for all the other different continuities and universes, well, inside AM Sonic, I'd probably get rid of Dulcie. I really didn't care that much about the character, and I also felt that she was very underutilized when they introduced her. She's a dragon, she can breathe fire and ice, and most of the time the Freedom Fighters only use her as a means for transportation and nothing else. I mean, that's like if Kid from Knight Rider decided to join the team and they only used him for driving around that whole village and not bothering to using any of his fancy gadgets when fighting robots. For Archie Sonic's old continuity, most likely Mammoth Moogle, at least after he was broken out of the prison jail. Because after that, he now runs a casino and... yeah, he just runs a casino. And this guy was a big deal back then, having all these powers and whatnot. And now that we see him as just being thrown into one of those he's just there scenarios, it's really annoying. As for the new continuity, can't really think of anyone. A lot of the new characters they were introduced didn't get enough screen time to fully establish their personality and backstory and all that. I mean, if the comics weren't cancelled and they continued on, then maybe I could think of at least one person that I didn't like and write him or her out of the story. And Sonic Boom, well, I'd kill off everyone from Sonic Boom. Of course, then again, I think it's safe to say that that version of Sonic is already dead, seeing as how Sega doesn't plan on making any more games related to that franchise, and the studio who makes the TV show has said nothing about a Season 3, but yeah, that's all I can think of. Silent Sam, what makes a good Sonic game in your opinion? Well, for me, a good Sonic game would involve great characters, a story that has a balance so that it doesn't come off as being dark and gritty like Batman Arkham Asylum games, or too wacky and stupid like anything Podtech and Graph have written. And the gameplay would have a nice good flow and balance to it with exciting action set pieces to interact with and exploring big worlds and stuff. And the 2D and 3D stuff would be properly balanced, so especially with the 2D stuff, it would be, I would take more inspiration from how they did it with Sonic Unleashed, because at least in that game, they managed to keep the flow going. You know, you can still keep up your speed and everything, unlike in Sonic Colors, where the levels became much more platform heavy and very less on the speed. But yeah, so for my idea of a good Sonic game, it's basically anything that you don't see in Sonic games these days. W Productions, what franchise would you like to see Sonic crossover with, besides Mario? Oh, that's a tricky one. Well, I guess the only one I can think of is Sonic crossing over with Crash Bandicoot. Just think it would be a cool idea in seeing Dr. Robotnik and Dr. Cortex teaming up to destroy their enemies. Next question. What do you think of Sonic's inclusion in LEGO Dimensions? Ah yes, his surprising appearance in LEGO Dimensions. I've already talked about this game a few times in some random videos, and basically it's the only Toys to Life game that got me interested in playing it, Yeah, so much so that I went and blew my money off in collecting every single playable character. I probably should go more into detail about that game one day. But it wasn't just for Sonic that I was interested in. I was more interested in being able to play as the Doctor and his previous incarnations, like the second Doctor, who's one of my top favorite Doctors from classic Doctor Who. Then there's also Sloth from Goonies, and Portal, and Midway arcade games, and Beetlejuice. Okay, but back to Sonic. Well, the story mode he's bundled with is okay. There are some parts I liked about the story and others that I don't like. But hey, LEGO games are always known for their lighthearted humor, so for the most part the humor works a lot better than what Lost World tried to do. But it's basically somewhat of a sequel to Generations, where Robotnik uses a device to summon enemies and locations from different points in time. You know, back in the day, before Sonic Forces went and threw in that pesky retcon to screw up everything. Now, the boss battles are pretty neat. Like, there's this boss rush where you have to battle against various versions of robot Sonics from the past. And then the final boss is a giant Chaos Zero, which is kinda cool. Then there's also the hub world of the game, which, another thing I also find odd about it is that the music, they could only recycle tunes from anything from Sonic Adventure and onwards. As for anything from the Genesis games are copyrighted by someone else, apparently. Other than that, it's just nice to be able to play an actual real 3D Sonic game after a long time. The vehicles he comes with were alright. I was more interested with being able to mess around with the tornado. Especially when one of the paint options you can unlock makes it look like how it was in the adventure games. Man, I really miss that blue and yellow version of the tornado. I personally think that color scheme better symbolizes Sonic and Tails' strong friendship. And with that said, I'm gonna cut the video short. Again, yeah, because surprisingly I had quite a lot to say for this good chunk of questions on the Sonic category, so tune in next time where I get to answer the rest of them.